So today was our second day in Moldova, and it was a really busy day. John, who is Marie's husband, and Marie is the director of the UNHCR office in Timișoara. So John, he lives in Moldova, and he works for the Millennium Challenge Corporation, and what that is, just an agency within the government. And they're normally based out of the U.S. Embassy in their specific countries, but they are actually out of the U.S. Embassy office because the U.S. Embassy office in Moldova is really small, so they have now relocated to a new, nicer building. But yeah, we just had a great day. It was packed with so much stuff and a variety of things, not just one specific thing. But this morning we started at John's office, and he kind of explained a little bit about what he does and how that's where our tax money from the United States, part of it, is going. And when I actually heard the information from him, I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. But just kind of seeing what's happening over here has been interesting. So like I said, he works for the Millennium Challenge Corporation, and the agency was started in 2004, and it was just kind of to set millennium goals. And there are, I don't remember how many countries specifically that fall into this category of need, but it's supposed to help fight poverty and corruption. I think they said it was like 20 countries worldwide. But and how they pick these countries is based on like a 17 indicator scale, John said. So it's, I guess you have to have a lot of poverty and a lot of corruption to be selected for this to be a part of the Millennium Challenge. There's two, so the biggest thing is they want to reduce the poverty and the economic growth. And the problems here, there's two big projects in Moldova right now, and one of them is a road rehabilitation. There is a highway, freeway, call it what you want to, going up north towards the Ukraine, and the road is just absolutely horrendous, they said. So they are putting in millions and millions and millions of dollars to make that road more efficient, because they're hoping that when the road is more efficient, there will be better just outcomes, and everything will be more efficient. And how they decide whether or not a project is worthwhile or not is based on its ERR. And with road projects, most of the time what you put in, you get out 20% more than what you put into it, just because of the efficiency. And that was one of the reasons why road projects are so easy to get approved for these projects. The second project they're working on right now is a transition to high-value agriculture. And he talked about there's 3 steps in the process and how they're going to turn this around. He says right now there's a low tariff, which then leads to poor operation and management, which then leads to less and poorer water, and when you have less and poorer water, that leads to a lower tariff, which then leads to, the cycle just continues and continues. So what they're going to try and attempt to do is fix the agriculture problem that they have now by implementing this water system. And so in Moldova, it's kind of like that, I guess. In Moldova, there is a river along the entire west coast, and then there's a river that runs about 3/4 into the country. And on the other side is, oh gosh, what's the name? Transnistria, I think, and it's so Moldova is split up into 80-20, 80% being Romanian type population and 20% still being a very Russian population. And they don't really work with the 20% just because so much of it is still controlled by the Russian government. But that river cuts the border. And so they're putting in a bunch of irrigation systems all along those rivers. And Moldova is actually the second country with the most aid from outside countries. The U.S. alone is putting $262 million into Moldova, and this is coming right out of our tax money. When I heard that number, I was just like, wow, that is so much money. But when John was explaining it, it makes sense. When you have countries that have great poverty and corruption, these countries are the countries that are more likely to then have war. And if we are able to prevent a war before it happens, it will save the U.S. more money in the end. And we're hoping that. So John said that Moldova gets $900 million of aid from outside states. And if America obviously gives $300 million of it, that gives us a large say in what's going on and how things are controlled. And that's really what the U.S. is going for. The first country with the most aid from outside countries was Palestine, he said. But he just went on to talk about all different, like where their struggles were and why it's been so hard to get this ball rolling. And he talked about 6 models of a startup corporation. And the first one was process documentation. And I used to work for a global logistics company as intern project manager, and everything he said just made sense. Without the SOPs or these best practices, it was so hard to get work done efficiently and effectively and just like in the best possible way. I mean, it's a best practice. But the next one is many of the companies over here, or especially the ones that he's working with, not where, is they lack an IT department. They all have their own individual computers. There's no central server. There's nothing for this to me. And I mean, I can't even imagine what that's like. As he was going through all these 6 different things, I realized how much I guess I've taken for granted within American corporations, like almost like it was just a norm. But over in Moldova, it's clearly not. The next area was communication and marketing, just the PR aspect, all of it. They don't have it here. It's this corporation, and that's what they're doing, but not many people are aware of what they're doing. They don't have vision documents. There's no culture documents. There's no. There's this is what we're doing, but there's no shared vision. Another one was the training programs. There's no training programs, so as things change and advance, all the new things are being left behind because these people just simply aren't learning anything new. And they did say that in Moldova specifically, and a lot of countries over in the Eastern Bloc, that they're very, their mind frame, they're focused on what they're doing, when they're doing it, and going in every day and doing the exact same thing, not making idea changes or just they're good with the same old. And the next one is there's no work plan. And I can't, after working as a project manager, I can't believe not having a work plan. Like everything I do, I either formulate a work plan in my head or I have it on paper, and my checklist, my to-do list is my, I guess, quote unquote work plan. But he says they just simply don't have them over here. And before they can actually really start making a positive change, they need to get those 6 areas kind of moving. John said that he's created a work plan and he's working with them, and that's the first thing that's been done, but the rest of it is kind of lacking. He also said that here, instead of communicating verbally about this is our plan, this is our idea, let's implement it, let's work on it, they simply have a 150-page type document where it says this is exactly what I want to do, and they hand it to the person that does the work and they read it. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've had a conversation with someone, and what I'm thinking and saying is different than how they're interpreting it. So if you're not having a communicative process about how this is going on, that must be just absolutely judgmental to your work, because it's like, I write down what I think is the correct notation and I hint to someone and they perceive it as something completely different.